Origin Chance, home to reaction. And this is Lefty Land, or it's Sky News Australia, so Lefty Land loses it over Donald Trump victory. So that happened. Trump won. Well, I'm as a foreigner not gonna give any commentary about whole like, don't like, because it doesn't matter, right? But it's gonna be certainly really entertaining. I will accept the election result if I win. Well, you did. So yeah, let's watch one.
G'day Australia, good morning from Washington. Hey, have you heard the news?
In Alaska, what does that mean? The race to 270, well, that is now over. Donald Trump wins the state of Alaska, and as a result, Donald Trump is once again going to be the president of the United States.
Okay, what I don't understand is like, not understand is like, what I don't know have the information, like, did he win by popular vote? Because that would be like sticking even more, right? Usually when like Republican or Trump wins, it's like through electoral votes, not the popular vote, right? Because Hillary had more votes than Trump. But if he has more votes, like, what does that say about Kamala? Like, one thing's for damn sure, like, Americans just point blank said it, like, we are not ready for like female president or something like that. I know somebody said like, oh no, but it's Kamala. They said, nah, not really. At least that's not what I'm going to think about from now on. And Trump won again, right? If it's by popular vote, there's going to be even more of us like sticking to left or something.
The Fox News decision desk can now officially project that Donald Trump will become the 47th president of the United States.
The former president's comeback will be complete with a win in Wisconsin.
How extraordinary. It is the greatest comeback in modern political history. To find an example of it, you don't have one this century, you don't have one last century, you got to go back to the century before that when they had the 18 in front of the years that were being counted down. Now, there are many images, many stories, many things to tell you about, many things that you've watched happen all the way through the day. And I've done my best to play that straight news bat because, as I said, all day long, you don't want to rub people's face in it. That's not cool. It's not okay. You've got to be a good winner because you've got to be paying attention to the people who are feeling the loss. But we've got to soak the moment in as well. This is an incredible moment in history. It is an incredible victory for people who had been ignored, who had been called garbage, who had been told that their views were not in polite society any further. And
yeah, as some guy who like to analyze things, one thing I realize is that people who think they're like, let's just say much more like left and liberal, shall I say woke, leaning, they are extreme minority. That's for damn sure. Because people for past 10 years, like, surely, like, we are so progressive right now, surely people with two brain cells realize who to vote and not to vote. And every single time, like, they're proven wrong. So clearly, people like, that kind of people are living in some kind of a bubble. I guess like big cities, like ultra big cities, like New York, Los Angeles, like they are in very small bubble compared to the entire USA and how people think, right? Because even after indicting so many times, even after everything that happened with Trump, even all the assassination attempt, you're like, what does that have to do with Trump? Like, it's not about that. It's about like all the baggage that comes with it. It's not Trump's fault, obviously, but it's the baggage, right? You're ready to make that person president than the other one because you don't like other one that bad.
they roared. And these were the same people who 4 years ago sacked Donald Trump. The same people in the same swing states who have now rehired Donald Trump. And in an evening of extraordinary images, a campaign of images, when I think we all felt exactly the same thing, July 15 Australian time, that when the bloke got shot, his reaction was not to crumble, but was to fight, fight, fight. And his call all the way through the campaign was fight, 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 vote, 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 and now he gets to say win, win, win. You need to have a look at this photo because this is going to be one for the history books. This is a photo of the exact moment Donald Trump returned to the presidency. He's backstage, waiting to go on stage at his supporters in Florida. His son took the photo as he's watching on.
I mean, you have to give him that, right? The shooting thing. Anyone I can think of, like any previous presidents, usually would like, duck down and like listen to like their security and basically run to the chopper. That's what would happen. Trump didn't listen to that. You might think like that's like irrational behavior or whatever. Maybe that's what that is. Doesn't matter. The point is he did do that, raising the hand and everything, iconic image. That did help his like whole thing. On top of that, he went to Joe Rogan. His vice president went to the Joe Rogan. In a day, less than 24 hours, I'm pretty sure he had like 40 million views. This is Indian movie trailer level of views. Why does Indian movie trailers usually get that view? Because there are 1.4 billion Indians. That's not the case with America. And yet he got 40 million views in a podcast that's like 3-4 hours. Like by that point, it should have been obvious like where this thing is like going, right?
To the numbers being counted and then the result being declared. To have that image before us, to have an insight into the most personal of moments, is a perfect example about, in many ways, the open book that is Donald Trump and is his candidacy. At times it can be ugly to read, at times it can be difficult to read, at times it doesn't make a lot of sense. But it's always an open book. And the idea that this was not some sort of filtered special image that was curated by a campaign, it was a son who took a photo, not quite coping.
I think when it's all said and done, what you're going to see is a huge divide over people who are college educated and not college educated.
Black voters came through for Kamala Harris. White women voters did not. Pure Project 2025 in miniature in Florida. And that kind of extreme, sort of extremist right-wing fascist type government in Florida, does that make it a more attractive place?
Thinking about the people who are not a part of anybody's elite.
The fuck you mean fascist, extreme? So if you vote for Trump and you're white, you're like extreme right fascist. See, I've said in the past like what type of ideology I agree with. I would not go right wing. But whenever I see the left wing of America, it's just like you lost your damn mind, right? Like things like this actually hurting you, right? Kamala could have come out and said a lot of things that people hate about left wing, like this is far too much. I'm not for this, and she probably would have won. Because even the people who would have, people who are going to vote for Trump, like extreme Trump supporters, they would have voted for Trump anyway, but they are not the majority of the country. There are people like who swing voters, whatever you call it, can swing the election in either way. They could have voted for Kamala if she had come out and said like certain ridiculous things. It's ridiculous, right? You can see things in any way. There are like multiple options every single time. You need to be commonsensical about them, right? Just because you're 100%, you think you're right, because this feels right to me, it must be right. There has to be a context. You can't have like linear single digit mentality. You have to have a complex mentality about how to look at an issue. A lot of like these extreme left wingers don't do that. So Kamala should have come out and said like, oh, I'm not for this, and she probably would have won. She didn't, right? A lot of handling of how Biden went about with like Afghanistan, a lot of things. She should have said like, I would have done these things a bit differently. She just said like, oh, that was basically me. I would have done the same way. So like, yeah, I don't know, man, right? She played it way too safe, and I knew this was coming, right?
Who are hurting tonight. There are African-American women who know a little bit about being talked down to and know a little bit about having their economic dreams crushed, who tried to dream a big dream over the past couple of months. And tonight they're trading in a lot of hope for a lot of hurt.
And that may be true, certainly for African American women. The idea that there was on the verge of a potential first female presidency and a first female president of colour, I get it, okay? And what I'm saying is not about those people. But the reality is that in many ways, the people who they turn to for information have lied to them about the chances of what was happening in this election. The New York Times polls that we've talked about, day in and day out.
Look, I don't make political videos ever because, like I said, I'm not in that country. I'm never going to be in that country apart from like visiting in vacation or whatever. Like, I'm not going to live there. I'm very happy where I am. So I'm not going to comment on anything on political, right? Because I know people will be pissed off in the comments. But in the end of the day, one thing I've analyzed, and like this is probably wrong. I don't know, like I'm not going to analyze it any further. But one thing I took from this is like, America will not elect a woman president. That's for damn sure. That's one thing. Like, okay, you could say like, okay, Kamala was hated. Okay, then you could say like Hillary was hated. Like, okay, but like, did Republicans ever put forth a woman like, okay, this is our nominee now? Is after Trump. Okay, what do you mean? Is Trump gonna run again after this? Is he gonna say like, okay, there was a gap between the presidency, so I get another run or something? Let's not even talk about that. I don't think America's gonna vote for a woman. Like, majority of America doesn't like that. That's what I'm getting. There's like divide or like how different type of people live there, but the majority kinda lean towards that. That's what I'm getting from now.
Yeah. When you actually dug into the detail, 80% of people had made their decision about what they were going to do in the American election months ago. So it didn't matter what happened with the comedian at Madison Square Garden. It didn't matter necessarily whether Trump had a good day.
Wait a minute, who was that? That guy who loves WWE, right? Man, I'm forgetting his name. He comes on Joe Rogan. Usually when WWE guys are there, like Undertaker or something, he's a fan of them. So Joe Rogan always brings them together. And he made certain jokes in Madison Square Garden. People were like, oh, like, come on, man, right? Even Jon Stewart, left side Jon Stewart, come out and say like, come on, man, you're being ridiculous. It's just jokes type of way. Even he said that. People need to like really calm the fuck down. Left-siders really need to like show people like we can be commonsensical and not just paint a picture just because we want to paint it. Not that that picture is wrong, but there's a way, there could be like, you could see something as like being right in a certain context all the time. There's no complete, this is wrong, this is right. There's never going to happen. You need to see certain things in a commonsensical way. Left wing doesn't do that many times. And most people in the country, like more than half at least, realize that it always votes right side, right? I mean, they voted for Biden, right? And I don't think people even liked Biden that much. He was vice president, and some of that stigma with it, like being vice president, doesn't really feel like, okay, I should vote for them. But they still voted for him in front of Trump. But they didn't vote for Kamala. I'm going back to thinking like people don't like women president or something. Or maybe Kamala didn't say things enough, or like clear things enough for them to vote for her.
On the trail or a bad day on the trail, they had made their choice. And they had made their choice because the government that they hired to replace Donald Trump did. As for Trump, when he eventually took the stage, I think the best part of 2 o'clock in the morning, he took to the...
Look at that, 280 compared to 226. I'm guessing it's still being counted or something. Because if 270 to win, then other cannot be 226. It must be a bit higher. So I guess they're still counting. But doesn't matter. Trump already won. He surpassed 270. So it's like this is finalized now. Damn. Imagine if like Kamala would just come out saying like, oh, there was a this and there was that. Like, I don't accept that. Like, how would people respond to that? Because Trump would do that. Trump did that last time. What if she did? I don't think she would do that. Left wingers wouldn't do that. I don't know. I think it would be weird to see what happens next.
Stage, and he got rid of the teleprompter. He was surrounded by his family, who he loves the most, and of course the supporters who built a coalition around him that I'm going to talk about a bit tonight. Because when the left wins, they talk about how clever everyone was, and when the right wins, they think that there's some sort of, aberration or cheat or a mistake that's been made. Quite the opposite. I'll get to that in a second. But some of the stuff that happened in the speech, just a little longer than you may well hear in other places. Here's an example of him talking about that.
Why is Dana White there, man? I get it, like he's right, but he's a UFC president. Why is he there? He's just like, don't you have like fight to organize? They are fine. Multi-billion-dollar company, somebody will take care of it. I don't need to be there.
Coalition.
What if Vince suddenly showed up there? I think Vince would have been there, right? Because Dana is there, like he was part of WWE. He was WWE and he was part of the venture. But the recent thing, he sold his stock. But if nothing like that did happen, I'm pretty sure Vince would be there as well. Because his wife is definitely part of like Trump group, cabinet, whatever.
That stretches from, say, a Robert F. Kennedy all the way through to the boss of the UFC.
His campaign has been
President,
so historic in so many ways. We've built the biggest, the broadest, the most unified coalition. They've never seen anything like it in all of American history. They've never seen any young and old, men and women, rural and urban. And we had them all helping us tonight, when you think.
And remember when he was shot and he was going to give his speech at the Republican
He's
National
bringing that again.
Convention. It was all about, has he changed? Well, yeah, he has. Because like every...
This guy is awesome. As soon as Trump's speech is over. Do you remember when Trump got shot? Like, oh, damn, that's heavy. Instantly. All right. Man, one thing, I'm going to say one thing here, right? I don't know what Trump presidency is going to look like. I guess he's going to be smarter just by experience. This is not his first time. I think he should be smarter. I don't know, right? I saw a bit of Joe Rogan puts clip out there. I can't watch the whole podcast, but clips out there. And the way he was speaking, he didn't look like Biden, right? Where he has trouble even speaking. So it looks like this is working, right? So maybe it will be better. Imagine that. What if Trump solves the war? What would people say after that? Like, you hate everything about Trump. Like, I get that. Like, even I see that. Like, all the baggage he comes with. But if he solves that, if he solves war somehow, if he brings somewhat peace for however reason, he's such a, in Warhammer 40k, there is, who was that? Like, I think orcs are like that, right? Random factor when you throw, like how you tabletop you play. I think orcs are the one with the random factor there. Trump is like that. It's a random factor, right? He could make war worse, where like American troops have to go there and like all out war. Everybody's fucked at that point. Or he could make it better. Who the hell knows? It's going to be very interesting. That's what I'm going to say. All right. Okay, I'm going to make this clear again before people just like suddenly start, like punching their keyboard. I don't care like who becomes president, what or not. This is not political anyway. Like, oh, you don't like Trump, you don't like this. I don't like anyone, let's just say. I hate everyone equally, all right? So don't comment down. There you go. All right, well, that was Lefty land. I always hear that in Australian voice because Sky News Australia. Why is the biggest, most viewed video is from Sky News Australia, not some American, right? This is 4.5 million views. I think it's more than any other, if I remember. I don't know. For a clip thing, I'm pretty sure like there are like big streams on Fox News or something that's more view, but still. All right, I'll see you next time.